Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and One Night. Now, when it was the 821st night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Hassan read the scroll, he was certified of deliverance from his troubles, and made sure of winning reunion with those he loved. Then he walked forward a couple of steps, and stopped, finding himself alone in a wild and perilous wold, wherein was none to company with him. So he wept sore, and recited the verses before mentioned. Then he walked on a few steps farther beside the river, till he came upon two little boys of the sons of the sorcerers, before whom lay a rod of copper graven with talisman, and beside it a skull cap of leather made of 3 gores and wroughten in steel, with names and carats. The cap and rod were upon the ground, and the boys were disputing and beating each other till the blood ran down between them, whilst each cried, None shall take the wand but I. So Hassan interposed and parted them, saying, What is the cause of your contention? And they replied, O uncle, be thou judge of our case, for Allah the Most High hath surely sent thee to do justice between us. Quoth Hassan, Tell me your case, and I will judge between you. And quoth one of them, We twain are brothers German, and our sire was a mighty magician who dwelt in a cave on yonder mountain. He died, and left us this cape and rod, and my brother saith, None shall have the rod but I, whilst I say the like. So be thou judge between us, and deliver us each from the other. Hassan asked, What is the difference between the rod and the cap, and what is their value? The rod appears to be worth 6 coppers, and the cap 3, whereto they answered, Thou knowest not their properties. And what are their properties? Each of them hath a wonderful secret virtue, wherefore the rod is worth the revenue of all the islands of Wak, and their provinces and dependencies, and the cap the like. By Allah, O my sons, discover to me their secret virtues. So they said, O my uncle, they are extraordinary. For our father wrought 135 years at their contrivance, till he brought them to perfection, and engrafted them with secret attributes, which might serve him extraordinary services, and engraved them after the likeness of the revolving sphere. And by their aid he dissolved all spells, and when he had made an end of their fashion, death, which all needs must suffer, overtook him. Now the hidden virtue of the cap is that whoso setteth on his head is concealed from all folks' eyes, nor can any see him whilst it remaineth on his head. And that of the rod is that whoso owneth it hath authority over 7 tribes of the jinn, who all serve the order and the ordinance of the rod. And whenever he who possesseth it smiteth it withon the ground, their kings come to him and do him homage, and all the jinn are at his service. Now, when Hassan heard these words, he bowed his head groundwards a while, and then he said in himself, By Allah, I shall conquer every foe by means of this rod and cap, inshallah, and I am worthy of them more than both of these 2 boys. So I will go about forthright to get them with the train my craft, that I may use them to free myself and my wife and children from yonder tyrannical queen. And when we will depart from this dismal steed, whence there is no deliverance for mortal man nor flight, doubtless Allah caused me not to fall in with these 2 lads, but that I might get the rod and cap from them. Then he raised his head and said to the 2 boys, If you would have me decide the case, I will make trial of you, and see what each of you deserveth. He who overcometh his brother shall have the rod, and he who faileth shall have the cap. They replied, O uncle, we depute thee to make trial of us, and do thou decide between us, and what thou deemest fit. Hassan asked, Will you hearken to me, and have regard to my words? And they answered, Yes. Then said he, I will take a stone, and throw it, and who outrunneth his brother thereto, and picketh it up, shall take the rod, and the other who is outraced shall take the cap. And they said, We accept and consent to thy proposal. Then Hassan took a stone and threw it with all his might, so that it disappeared from sight. The 2 boys ran under and after it, and when they were at the distance, he donned the cap, and hending the rod in hand, removed from his place, that he might prove the truth of that which the boys had said, with regards to their scant properties. The younger outran the elder, and coming first to the stone, took it, and returned with it to the place where they had left Hassan, but found no signs of him. So he called to his brother, saying, "Where is the man who was to be umpire between us?" Quoth the other, "I spy him not, neither wot I whether he hath flown up to heaven above, or sunk into the earth beneath." Then they sought for him, but saw him not, though all the while he was standing in his stead hard by them. So they abused each other, saying, "Rod and cap are both gone. They are neither mine nor thine, and indeed our father warned us of this very thing, but we forgot whatso he said." Then he retraced their steps, and Hassan also entered the city, wearing the cap and bearing the rod, and none saw him. Now when he was certified of the truth of their speech, he rejoiced with exceeding joy, and making the palace, went up into the lodging of Shawahai, who saw him not because of the cap. Then he walked up to the shelf over her head, upon which were vessels of glass and chinaware, and shook it with his hand, so that thereon it fell to the ground. The old woman cried out and beat her face, and then she rose and restored the fallen things to their places, saying in herself, "By Allah, methinks Queen Nur al-Huda hath sent a Satan to torment me, and he hath tricked me. This trick I beg Allah Almighty deliver me from her, and preserve me from her wrath. O Lord, if she deal thus abominably with her half-sister, beating and hanging her, dear as she is to her sire, how will she do with a stranger like myself, against whom she is incensed?" And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 822nd night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the ancient lady of calamities cried, when Queen Nur al-Huda doth such misdeed to her sister, what will she do to a stranger like myself, against whom she is incensed?" Then said she, "I conjure thee, O devil, by the most compassionate, the bountiful great, the high of estate of dominion elate, whom man and jinn did create, and by the writing upon the seal of Solomon, David's son, on both be peace, speak to me and answer me." Quoth Hassan, "I am no devil. I am Hassan, the afflicted, the distraught." Then he raised the cap from his head, and appeared to the old woman, who knew him, and taking him apart, said to him, "What is come to thy reason that thou comest hither? Go hide thee, for if this wicked woman have tormented thy wife with such torments, and she her sister, what will she do an she light on thee?" Then she told him all that had befallen his spouse, and that wherein she was of travail and torment and tribulation, and straitly described all the pains she endured, adding, "And indeed the queen repenteth her of having let thee go, and hath sent one after thee, promising him 100 weight of gold, and my rank in her service, and she hath sworn that if he bring thee back, she will do thee and thy wife and thy children dead." And she shed tears, and discovered to Hassan what the queen had done with herself, whereat he wept and said, "O my lady, how shall I do to escape from this land, and deliver myself and my wife and children from this tyrannical queen, and how devise to return with them in safety to my own country?" Replied the old woman, "Woe to thee! Save thyself." Quoth he, "There is no help but I deliver her and my children from the queen, perforce and in despite." And quoth Shawahai, "How canst thou forcibly rescue them from her? Go and hide thyself, O my son, till Allah Almighty empower thee." Then Hassan showed her the rod and the cap, whereat she rejoiced with joy exceeding, and cried, "Glory be to him who quickeneth the bones, though they be rotten. By Allah, O my son, thou and thy wife were but of lost folk. Now, however, thou art saved, thou and thy wife and children. For I know the rod, and I know its maker, who was my sheikh in the science of gramarye. He was a mighty magician, and spent 135 years working at this rod and cap, till he brought them to perfection, when death, the inevitable, overtook him. And I have heard him say to his 2 boys, 'O my son, these 2 things are not of your lot, for there will come a stranger from a far country, who will take them from you by force, and ye shall not know how he taketh them.' Said they, 'O our father, tell us how he will avail to take them.' But he answered, 'I wot not.' 'And, O my son,' added she, 'how availest thou to take them?' So he told her how he had taken them from the 2 boys, whereat she rejoiced and said, 'O my son, Since thou hast gotten the whereby to free thy wife and children, give ear to what I shall say to thee. For me there is no wanting with this wicked woman after the foul fashion in which she durst use me. So I am minded to depart from her to the caves of the magicians, and there abide with them until I die. But do thou, O my son, don the cap and hand the rod in hand, and enter the place where thy wife and children are. Unbind her bonds, and smite the earth with the rod, saying, Be ye present, O servants of these names. Whereupon the servants of the rod will appear. And if there present himself one of the chiefs of the tribe, command him whatso thou shalt wish, and will. So he farewelled her, and went forth, donning the cap, and hending the rod, and entering the place where his wife was. He found her well nigh lifeless, bound to the ladder by her hair, tearful-eyed and woeful-hearted, in the sorriest of plights. Knowing no way to deliver herself, her children were playing under the ladder, while she looked at them and wept for them, and herself, because of the barbarities, and the sore treatings, and the bitter penalties which had befallen her. And he heard her repent these couplets. There remaineth not aught, save a fluttering breath, and an eye whose owner is confounded, and a desirous lover whose bowels are burned with fire, notwithstanding which she is silent. The exulting foe pitieth her at the sight of her. Alas for her whom the exulting foe pitieth. When Hassan saw her in this state of torment and misery, in ignominy and infamy, he wept till he fainted, and when he recovered, he saw his children playing, and their mother aswoon for excess of pain. So he took the cap from his head, and the children saw him, and cried out, O our father! Then he covered his head again, and the princess came to herself, hearing their cry, but saw only her children weeping and shrieking, O our father! When she heard them weep their sire, and weep, her heart was broken, and her vitals rent asunder, and she said to them, What maketh you unmind of your father at this time? And she wept sore, and cried out from a bursten liver and an aching bosom, Where are ye, and where is your father? Then she recalled the days of her union with Hassan, and what had befallen her since her desertion of him, and wept with sore weeping, till her cheeks were seared and furrowed, and her face was drowned in briny flood. Her tears ran down and wetted the ground, and she had not a hand loose to wipe them from her cheeks, whilst the flies fed their fill on her skin, and she found no helper but weeping, and no solace but improvising verses. Then she repeated these couplets. I called to mind the parting day that rents our loves in twain, when as I turned away, the tears in very streams did rain. The cameleer urged on his breast with them, that while I found nor strength nor fortitude, nor did my heart with me remain. Yea, back I turned, unknowing of the road, nor might shake off the trance of grief and longing love that numbed my heart and brain. And worst of all betided me, on my return was one, who came to me in lowly guise, to glory on my pain. Since the beloved gone, O soul, forswear the sweet of my life, nor covet its continuance, for wanting him 'twere vain. List, O my friend, and tell the tale of love, and God forbid that I should speak, and that thy heart to hearken should not deign. And 'twere El Asami himself of passion, I discourse fancies rare and marvellous, linked in an endless chain. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 823rd night, she continued, When Hassan went in to his wife, he saw his children, and heard her repeating the verses aforementioned. Then she turned right and left, seeking the cause of her children's crying out, O our father! But saw no one, and marveled that her sons should name their sire at that time and call upon him. But when Hassan heard her verses, he wept till he swooned away, and the tears railed down his cheeks like rain. Then he drew near the children, raised the cap from his head, unseen of his wife, whereupon they saw him, and they knew him, and cried out, saying, O our father! Their children, their mother fell a-weeping again, when she heard them name their sire's name, and said, There is an avoiding the doom which Almighty Allah hath decreed, adding, O strange! What gareth them think of their father at this time, and call upon him, albeit is not of their wont? Then she wept, and recited these couplets. The land of lamping moon is bare and drear. O eyne of me, pour forth the brimming tears. They marched. How shall I be patient? That I nor heart nor patience own I swear. O ye who marched yet, bide in heart of me. Will you, O lords of me, return to that we were? What harm if they return and I enjoy meeting, and they had ruth on tears of care? Upon the parting day they dimmed these eynes for sad surprise, and lit the flames that flare. Sore longed I for their stay, but fortune stayed longings, and turned my hope to mere despair. Return to us, O love, my Allah thine, enow of tears have flowed for absent Spain. Then Hassan could no longer contain himself, but took the cap from his head, whereupon his wife saw him, and recognized him, screamed a scream which startled all the palace, and said to him, How camest thou hither? From the sky hast thou dropped, or through the earth hast thou come up? And her eyes brimmed with tears, and Hassan also wept. Quoth she, O man, this be no time for tears or blame. Fate hath had its course, and the sight was blinded, and the pen hath run with what was ordained of Allah when time was begun. So Allah upon thee, whencefor ever thou comest, go hide, lest any espy thee, and tell my sister, and she do thee and me die. Answer he, O my lady, and lady of all queens, I have adventured myself, and come hither, and either I will die, or I will deliver thee from this strait, and travel with thee and my children to my country, despite the nose of this thy wicked sister. But as she heard his words, she smiled, and for a while fell to shaking her head, and said, Far, O my life, far is it from the power of any except Allah Almighty to deliver me from this my strait. Save thyself by flight, and wend thy ways, and cast not thyself into destruction, for she hath conquering hosts none may withstand. Given that thou tookest me and wentest forth, how canst thou make thy country and escape from these islands and the perils of these awesome places? Verily thou hast seen on thy way hither the wonders, the marvels, the dangers and the terrors of the roads, such as none may escape, not even one of the rebel jinns. Depart therefore forthright, and add not cark to my cark, and care to my care. Neither do thou pretend to rescue me from this my plight, for who shall carry me to thy country through all these vales and thirsty wolds and fatal steads? Rejoined Hassan, Be thy light, O light of mine eyes. I will not depart this place, nor fare but with thee. Quoth she, O man, how canst thou avail unto this thing, and what manner of man art thou? Thou knowest not what thou sayest. None can escape from these realms, even had he command over jinns, ifrits, magicians, chiefs of tribes, and marids. Save thyself and leave me. Perchance Allah will bring about good after ill. Answered Hassan, O lady of fair ones, I came not save to deliver thee with this rod and with this cap. And he told her what had befallen him with the two boys. But whilst he was speaking, behold, up came the queen and heard their speech. Now, when he was ware of her, he donned the cap and was hidden from sight. And she entered and said to the princess, O wanton, who is he with whom thou wast talking? Answered Manar al-Sanar, Who is with me that thou should talk with me, except these children? Then the queen took the whip and beat her, whilst Hassan stood by and looked on her. Did she leave beating her till she fainted? Whereupon she bade transport her to another place. So they loosed her and carried her to another chamber, whilst Hassan followed unseen. There they cast her down senseless, and stood gazing upon her till she revived and recited these couplets. I have sorrowed on account of our disunion with a sorrow that made the tears to overflow from mine eyes. And I vowed that if fortune reunite us, I would never again mention our separation. And I would say to the envious, Die ye with regret. By Allah, I have now attained my desire. Joy hath overcome me to such a degree that by its excess it hath made me weep. O eye, how hath weeping become thy habit? Thou weepest in joy as well as in sorrows. When she ceased her verses, the slave girls went out from her, and Hassan took off the cap. Wherefore his wife said to him, See, O man, all this befell me not save by reason of my having rebelled against thee, and transgressed thy commandment, and gone forth without thy leave. So Allah upon thee, blame me for my sins, and know that women never wot a man's worth till they have lost him. Indeed, I have offended and done evil, but I crave pardon of Allah Almighty for whatso I did, and if he reunite us, I will never again gainsay thee in aught. No, no, never. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 824th night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Hassan's wife besought pardon of him, saying, Blame me not for my sin, and indeed I crave mercy of Allah Almighty. Quoth Hassan, and indeed his heart ached for her, 'Twas not thou that wast in fault, nay, the fault was mine, and mine only, for I fared forth and left thee with one who knew not thy rank, neither thy worth nor thy degree. But know, O beloved of my heart, and fruit of my vitals, and light of mine eyes, that Allah, blessed be He, hath ordained to me power of releasing thee. So say me, wouldst thou have me carry thee to thy father's home, there to accomplish what Allah decreeth unto thee, or wilt thou forthright depart with me to mine own country, now that relief is come to thee? Quoth she, Who can deliver me save the Lord of the heavens? Go to thy motherland, and put away from thee false hope, for thou knowest not the perils of these parts, which an thou obey me not, soon shalt thou sight. And she improvised these couplets. On me, and with my bides thy volunty, why then such anger and despite to me? Whate'er befall us, heaven forbid that love for fade for long time, or and forgotten be. Cease not the spy to haunt our sides, till seen our love estranged, and then estranged was he. In truth, I trusted to fair thoughts of thine, through spake the wicked spy maliciously. Well kept the secret twixt us twain and hold, although the brand of blame unsheathed we see. The livelong day in longing love I spent, hope, acceptance, message from my friend. Then wept she, and her children, and the handmaidens heard them. So they came into them, and found them weeping, but saw not Hassan with them. Wherefore they wept for ruth of them, and damned Queen Nur al-Huda. Then Hassan took patience till night came on, and our guards had gone to their sleeping places, when he arose, and girded his waist, then went up to her, and loosed her, kissed her on the head, and between the eyes, and pressed her to his bosom, saying, How long have we wearied for our motherland, and for reunion there? In this our meeting, in sleep or in wake. Then he took up the elder boy, and she took up the younger, and they went forth the palace, and Allah veiled them with the veil of his protection, so that they came safe to the outer gate, which closed the entrance to Queen Seraglio. But finding it locked from without, Hassan said, There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah, the glorious and the great. Verily, we are Allah's, and unto him shall we return. With this they despaired of escape, and Hassan beat hand upon hand, saying, O dispeller of dolors! Indeed, I had bethought me of everything, and considered its conclusion, but this. And now when it is daybreak, they will take us, and what device have we in this case? And he recited the following two couplets. Thou madest fair thy thought of fate, when as the days were fair, and fearest not the unknown ills that they might bring. The nights were fair and calm to thee. Thou wast deceived by them, for in the peace of night is born full many a troublous thing. Then Hassan wept, and his wife wept for his weeping, and for the abasement, and she suffered, and the cruelties of time and fortune. Box me of fate as though she were my foe. Each day she showeth me new cark and care. Fate, when I am aim at good, brings clear reverse, and lets foul morrow wait on day that's fair. And also these. Irks me my fate, and cleans unknows that I of my high worth her shifts and shafts despise. She nights parading what ill will she works, I night parading patience to her eyes. Then his wife said to him, By Allah, there is no relief for us but to kill ourselves and be at rest from this great and weary travail, else we shall suffer grievous torment on the morrow. At this moment, behold, they heard a voice from without the door say, By Allah, O my lady Manar al-Sana, I will not open to thee and thy husband Hassan, except ye obey me in whatso I shall say to you. When they heard these words, they were silent for excess of fright, and would have returned whence they came, when lo, the voice spake again, saying, What aileth you both to be silent and answer me not? Therewith they knew the speaker for the old woman Shawahai, Lady of the Calamities, and said to her, Whatso thou biddest us, that will we do. But first open the door to us, this being no time for talk. Replied she, By Allah, I will not open to you until ye both swear to me that you will take me with you, and not leave me with yonder whore. So whatever befalleth you shall befall me, and if ye escape, I shall escape, and if ye perish, I shall perish. For yonder abominable woman, tri-bayed that she is, entreated me with indignity, and still tormented me on your account. And thou, O my daughter, knowest my worth. Now recognized her, they trusted in her, and sware to her an oath, such as contended her. Whereupon she opened the door to them, and they fared forth, and found her riding on a great jar of red earthenware, with a rope of palm fibers about its neck, which rolled under her and ran faster than a notched colt. And she came up to them, and she said, Follow me, and fear not, for I know 40 modes of magic, by the least of which I could make this city a dashing sea, swollen with clashing billows, and ensorcelled each damsel there into a fish, and all before dawn. But I was not able to work aught of my mischief for fear of the king her father, and of regards to my sisters, for they are formidable, by reason of their many guards and tribesmen and servants. However, soon will I show you wonders of my skill in witchcraft. And now let us on, replying on the blessings of Allah and his good aid. Now Hassan and his wife rejoiced in this, making sure of escape. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale, till it be morrow.